My name is Tessa Greenalge, and I'm one of the head officers of the Senior Class Council. Normally, I would love to tell you about a year of amazing accomplishments and fundraising that we did for the senior gift. But we only had one semester of that, although we were able to hold one pub night, sell senior pint glasses. Our second semester was spent mostly off campus. This year threw more curveballs at us than a senior year is supposed to do, but we did it. We've been faced with starting our lives during one of the scariest and most unsure times in history. But Bard has given us the tools to be here right now and thrive. I even remember starting this year thinking, thank God I'm not graduating into a recession, but I guess I jinxed it. But either way, it didn't stop any of us from prevailing, from being successful, and now, after a long summer and semester, we finally get to say we graduated. And without further ado, President of BARD, Leon Botstein.
I want to welcome everybody who's on this site now. We're a little bit delayed, and I want to apologize for that. It turns out that the virtual world is even less efficient than the real world. And so we apologize for your having to wait. I want to thank Tessa for participating and for all the participants you'll hear from. I don't know whether the camera will be able to show you where we are, but we're in the traditional commencement tent, a little bit different configuration from what we're used to. And for those of you who have never been to a senior award ceremony or something that is in that tradition here at Bard, it's usually at a senior dinner. The students are arranged in tables, the seniors, and we actually give them wine on the assumption that they're above age, which I think most of them are by that time. And it's a celebratory occasion. Faculty and staff are present, and we give out the awards that are won by members of the senior class. And it's a joyous occasion, and students are really by themselves except with the staff and faculty. And there are student speakers and faculty speakers, which we'll have today virtually. And it's the beginning of the commencement ceremonies. And I want to invite all of you who are watching this to join us this afternoon for the baccalaureate service, which precedes the senior awards dinner. This is reversed simply because of the way it worked out. And the baccalaureate is the original commencement. That's when degrees were given out in the 19th century, when Bard was founded. And it was part of a church service. Sometimes it was a Eucharist or a morning service in the Anglican Communion, which founded the college. And for those of you who can see it, there are these two chairs here, which we've brought from the chapel, just to remind everybody that we're in a long tradition of institutional ceremonies that they date back to 1860 when the college was founded. And that's a bishop's chair. And that is the chair presumably for what was then called the warden of the college, who is a priest, which I assure you I'm not. And so I'm going to sit in a secular chair in the middle. But it gives you an idea of the history of the college and its the heritage that we have assumed now really in the 3rd century, of which Bard is a part. I want to second something that Tessa said, that this is a remarkable class, and this ceremony is focused on the achievements of the class. The second semester, as you all know, was interrupted by COVID, and by the pandemic. And unlike some colleges, we allowed students to remain if they needed to and wanted to. And a large portion of the senior class remained on campus for the entire remainder of the semester. And contrary to what you read in the newspapers and on social media, our students behaved fantastically well. Fantastically well. Wearing masks, trying to keep socially distant, and the health circumstances on the campus were excellent. And probably for many of the students, it was a safer place to be than returning to their original homes. We're very proud of this class. And as Tessa pointed out, this class is graduating in an unprecedented time. And they are facing a future which I happen to think is enormously bright. It doesn't require a sophisticated dialectician of history to say that with this crisis, an opening is there for us, for the society, and for them. Unlike those who graduated during the war, the Second World War or the Vietnam War, the war for us is here, at home, not overseas. And the enemy are not really other human beings, but a disease that knows no boundaries and impacts the poor far more than it does the wealthy, and is indiscriminate in its approach to putting people's lives at risk. And it has, for reasons we could not have predicted, put American democracy at risk and raises the whole question of what kind of future are we going to have. And this graduating class will be in the front lines of creating that future. Every graduation is filled with rhetoric about how we expect of the graduating class the energy and the imagination to fix what has been wrong. We need them as much as they need all of us to work together to make it certain that democracy is not shut down in this country, and that freedom is not eliminated, and that fairness returns both to our political and economic system. So this is a moment for all of us to reflect on the achievements of this class as they connect to the task that's ahead. You know, many people think a liberal arts education is not necessary, or the kind of things that these students have achieved are maybe superfluous or discretionary. Every one of these students has achieved something as a senior in writing a senior project and doing something of their own design with tremendous energy, humor, some risk, and great imagination. We give awards, as many colleges do. We give quite a lot of them. But every student here is an award winner. In the senior dinner, this award ceremony, everybody shows up, and not everybody gets an award. But the awards here at Bard are not invidious. They're not comparative. Every student is thrilled when another student gets an award, because it doesn't appear in the culture of the college that someone has had something taken away from them. There's no envy. It's not a pyramid system that's based on grades, but it's about a respect for everybody's subjective effort and achievement, and a delight in those that are recognized. These awards, many of them are long-standing. Some date from the 2 centuries ago, and some of them are more recent. But it is a celebration of the independence of mind, the ingenuity, the improvisatory capacity that these Bard undergraduates have, which is almost unique in American higher education. We talk a lot about the liberal arts and the development of critical thought, the ability to analyze text, to be literate, to express one's point of view, to debate, to listen to someone else, to be curious, often about things that when they were freshmen and first-year students, they didn't think of being curious about. And they, each and every one of them, walks away from the college with a sense of those skills and a capacity to exercise them, which is not often the case. We don't actually serve our college students in this country as well as we ought. And we feel that we are in the forefront of making education and the development of the life of the mind and the imagination the priority not only for the college years, but the years after college. And that's when the political impact and the social impact and the community impact of what these young people will bring will make itself plain. I want to take an opportunity before we get started with the awards to thank all the members of the college staff. It's hard to put on a dinner and award ceremony for over 400 students, but it's equally difficult to put this on, which is virtual. And the members of the Dean's office, the people you'll see on stage here in this ceremony, all the people you won't see, technical people, IT people, buildings and grounds people, environmental services people, food service people, every staff member. This college is a relatively small place, and we would never have made it this far without the goodwill, the energy, the devotion, and the commitment to the college. This has been truly a team effort, and I'm very proud and very grateful for all the members of the team that have made this possible. So as you sit at home and or wherever you may be, and you watch this, remember that we are very grateful, all of us, to our colleagues here on the campus in Annandale that have made this ceremony possible. This may be the most memorable ceremony. Many students feel they have been, in a way, cheated or deprived of the commencement weekend. Every member of the class of 220 is invited to join commencement in 2021, 2022, or 2023. They just have to let us know where they can participate in the ceremonies in real life. And not this award ceremony, but baccalaureate, the tent party that's before commencement, and of course commencement itself. So they're welcome to return to the campus as they should have been able to do at a normal commencement had there not been the pandemic. I hope all of you are safe and remain safe. This community has been relatively blessed by any reasonable standard, a high level of health and safety, which is why we have these masks, and we want to underscore that we are in control of our own destiny in that regard. We can make ourselves and our families safe, and people can learn and be in the same place and not put themselves at risk. The reason we have reopened and we have now students on campus, first-year students, and we have returning students coming, is because one thing we've learned in this pandemic is that there's a wide distinction between the virtual and the real. There is no techno-utopia, and the kind of education that the graduates have received in the class of 2020 is an education that can't be done online. The online formats are very helpful, but they're supplementary. They're extras. They're automobiles with larger engines. They're faster modes of transportation, but they don't alter the fundamental human experience of learning and of teaching. So let's get on with the actual program that we have, and I will turn the podium back on to Tessa, who will proceed. There is a faculty speaker, there is a speaker from the staff, and then we will proceed with the awards. So have a good time, and thank you for listening, and thank you for watching.
Thank you to President Botstein. Next, it is my honor to introduce Yuka Suzuki, a beloved faculty member in the anthropology program. She's best known on campus for her quiet strength, her insights into the animal world, and her challenge to students to think differently about the world and what creatures occupy it. Without further ado, Associate Professor of Anthropology, Yuka Suzuki.
To the class of 2020 graduates, their parents, grandparents, and the many other family members and friends who have supported them and guided them over the past 4 years, congratulations. To the seniors, most of you arrived at Bard a little over 4 years ago from nearby states and faraway countries, not knowing anyone, perhaps, except for a few get-to-know-you conversations with your assigned roommate, to embark on an adventure that would change who you were and how you thought about and acted in the world. Beginning with L&T, you read, listened, and opened yourself to new ideas, eventually deciding on a major, passing the nerve-wracking ritual of moderation, and finally producing a senior project entirely of your own vision and making. Think back for a moment to all that you've accomplished since you first arrived, to learn with you, to watch you grow and become the brilliant scholars, artists, and activists you are today has been an incomparable joy and privilege. If this were a commencement during an ordinary year, you might still be recovering from writing your very last final paper, or thinking about the logistics of moving out of your dorm the next day, leaving little room for reflection. But in this atypical year, it may have already dawned on you over the past few months just how exceptional your time at Bard was, how unique the campus is, and how deeply your peers, professors, and community cared for you. As you continue your adventure in the world beyond Bard, take with you the loveliest memories of your time here, the warm handshakes of your board members as you learned that you had officially moderated, the anticipation of entering Olin on the first day of the semester, the tranquility of sitting on the rocks at the Parliament of Reality, and the feeling of being transported through a concert in the beautiful hall of the Fisher Center. Carry with you also the tools that you sharpened during your time here, such as the ability to think critically and unrelentingly. Your first semester of college was marked by sweeping change across the country with the election of the current president. The morning after that fateful Tuesday, I walked into my contemporary cultural theory seminar to students who sat grief-stricken, some crying quietly, others stunned and silent. That morning, through our shared tears, sorrow, and anger, we began slowly to think through the unthinkable. The act of thinking together was extraordinarily empowering to rouse ourselves from the numbness, to begin to interrogate what we thought we knew, and to dig into the historical and structural underpinnings of where we suddenly found ourselves. This was a conversation and a transformation that could only have happened at Bard, and this is what I cherish about teaching at this institution, and what I deeply cherish about its students. Graduation doesn't signal the end of such conversations, but rather should be a springboard for carrying them into the larger world with you and initiating them with new interlocutors wherever you go. Now, 4 years later, in this moment of unprecedented uncertainty, but also possibility, the need to think is more urgent than ever. Keep fighting to make the invisible visible, articulate the unspeakable, and inspire through your courage, strength, creativity, wisdom, and kindness. Congratulations again to the class of 2020 on your extraordinary achievements. We are so proud to call you our students, and we can't wait to see what you do next. Remember that you will always have a home and lifelong friends here. Come back and visit often.
Thank you to Professor Suzuki. Next up, I would like to introduce our staff speaker, the Associate Dean of Experiential Learning and Civic Engagement, Cami Jones. Cami is someone who makes you smile. She's a beloved go-getter for students at Bard. Everywhere she goes, she touches the lives of students and people in positive ways. She has made an impact on countless lives here at Bard and in the surrounding community with her work in civic engagement. It is my pleasure to introduce Cami.
Thank you, Tessa. It is an honor to represent the staff of Bard College at our annual senior class award ceremony. I would first like to thank the Bard College 2020 Senior Council for inviting me to speak to the class, as well as President Botstein, the Board of Trustees, faculty and staff, but of course the group of honor this morning, our 2020 seniors. What a time is this? You truly have reached the highest echelon of accomplishments during a time filled with change, uncertainty, fear, but also hope. I want to first affirm what you have had to overcome, to say how proud I am of each of you, but also acknowledge how interesting it must feel for you right now. When I was first asked to speak, I must admit, I was overjoyed, but also very nervous because I wasn't sure what direction to take. A sense of direction. Something so many of us have faced and questioned daily during this pandemic. When I think about the senior class and this awards dinner, any other year we would be under a large tent filled with laughter, snaps of pictures, mosquitoes flying everywhere, clinking of glasses as we enjoyed lots of sangria, and also toasting to you because you arrived. We were so ecstatic. We were happy to link up and share all of our jokes of your experiences here at Bard. And by the way, I do hope you enjoy sangria this weekend because you definitely have earned it. As you may have experienced through events such as this, the purpose of these speeches are to inspire you, to get you ready for the next step in your lives, which of course you will experience, but you're going to have to lead and evolve in a world that is new and is not quite familiar for many of us. What exactly is the roadmap to maneuvering and accomplishing your goals during a pandemic, as the world's narrative as we know it continues to change daily? What steps can you take? What's the solution to this puzzle? So I must forewarn you, I don't have the nerdy Letterman list, or for you, I guess I would say Jimmy Fallon. And I may not have all of the typical quotes that you may hear at these events, but what I do have, and what I do know for sure, is that you are resilient, you're filled with care, you're fierce, and you're gifted leaders. I know you. And today I'm going to focus on your accomplishments, but also give you a call to action. During this pandemic, which we all felt abruptly ended so many things for you, you showed resilience. Where else would you meet students who not only completed full course loads, but managed that while completing a SPROJ, which is the equivalent of a master's level thesis, or for some people, a dissertation. Speaking of those courses, when life was giving you lemons, and I'm not talking about lemons from a Beyonce album, I am so sorry, but lemons everywhere, where everything felt so hectic, you dug deep and somehow figured out how to take courses online while also managing supporting your families, becoming caretakers, picking up jobs to support your community, while still finding ways to stay connected with your classmates at Bard. That's drive. You showed care. Whether it's launching several social media pages or campaigns to support each other financially, emotionally, mentally. As we always do at Bard, you managed and you gave back to others. And you also led. You created projects to support communities affected by COVID-19. You supported frontline workers. You marched for Black lives, all once again while managing your SPROJ, papers, family, friends, pets, internships, jobs, and whatever else popped up during the day. You were the epitome of class and resilience. And as you accomplished all of this, you built an even stronger community. Community. According to the Merriam-Webster, community is a group of people with a common characteristic or interests living together within a larger society, and you are the epitome of that. Communities seem to be the connector through everything that we experienced thus far. The word that consistently came to my mind as I thought about your year as you led, cared, and showed resilient leadership is the word that is connected to your call of action and how to move forward in society. Trying to complete college, search for jobs, transitioning to grad school, wondering how you would support your family and community while fighting 2 pandemics of COVID-19 and social unrest. How? How can you transition? Yet as we see globally, it's the communities that are supporting each other during this time. It's community members like you that are changing the narrative. And that's where I see you thriving, leading, and changing the world. At Bard, you learned how to not only excel in the classroom, but engage as a collective for the betterment of society. I couldn't honestly think of a better time for one to feel motivated, to change the narrative in their communities, because you own the pen. And you can change the world and society and build it into one that you want to live, thrive, and give in. Yet, if we're being honest, this isn't an easy feat to do when you don't have the full roadmap. Also, you may be wondering, as I'm standing here, is this actually a realistic stance to take? But when I think about resilience, leadership, and fearlessness, I see hope. And hope is in you. When you feel in doubt, rely on hope. For honestly, it's all that we have. It's what you had to accomplish everything it took to get to this point of graduating and to tackle all of the challenges that you have faced and will continue to face in life. Hope will carry you into this new world, one where you will change the narrative, one where you can create an equitable society for many generations to come. And though it is difficult right now, and I can only imagine how concerned you must feel as a new graduate, I do see this as a time filled with opportunity despite it all. So my call of action for you today is to ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in? What can you do, and who can join you? And I ask that because I know you. We see you, and we know what you can do. You will change the world. How do I know this? You already had by getting to this point through resilience, leadership, being fierce, and a lot of care. I'm going to leave you with a final word from one of my mentors who actually just recently passed, and he was very important to me, especially during my time when I was a senior in graduate school. And he would always tell me in my early 20s, the only thing consistent in this world is change. And I didn't fully always understand that, and I'm starting to understand that more now. So what I want you to remember from that quote is that change is a part of living, growing, learning, and evolving. We can't get to where we want to be with the status quo. So I'm going to ask you to step forth into your calling, create your path, and don't forget you're a community because you are community leaders and they need you more than ever right now. Why? Because once again, you're resilient, you're fierce, you have a lot of care, and you're such strong leaders. Congratulations to the Bard class of 2020. I look forward to seeing what you create and do in this world and am forever a part of your journey. And don't forget about the sangria this weekend. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce our student speaker, Sam Kiley. What can I say about Sam? Everyone loves Sam. He's been a tour guide on campus, a peer counselor, and a wonderful leader in the Astor Home TLS project, which is fitting because Sam will continue his education in the BARD MAT program this coming year. It is my honor to introduce my friend and fellow New Hampshirean, Sam Kiley.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Kiley. I'm coming to you from Red Hook, New York, nearby Yum Yum Noodles and Cancun's. Yeah, so let's get into this. So a couple of weeks ago, actually on the day that Tessa asked me to do this, I was having a pretty terrible day. I don't remember the details of it exactly. Probably something involving being overly stressed or a little claustrophobic or something like that. And I'm in the Masters of Arts of Teaching program right now. So it was the day when my classmates were actually doing their demo lessons. So teaching us, the other people, something about Macbeth, which is the book we were reading, and reading, because we're learning about reading. And I remember having a conversation with a friend before being like, this is literally the last thing I want to do right now. I just want to go to sleep. And yeah, and then we get into these lessons, and it's Josh Maldonado, a BARD grad, Ben Eskind, who is a BARD grad from a couple years ago, and then Lindsay Kant and Jake Palmer, who are current MAT students, so shout out those people, I guess. And what Lindsay and Josh have us do in particular is translate the speech where Macbeth has just found out his lover is ill, and he's sort of in this haze of preparing for battle, and it's a scene where sort of like gender and violence and questions of mental health are all sort of colliding. And then after translating it in groups, we are challenged to perform it, to perform our contemporary translation. My group was like a bunch of people in a locker room before a big game. It was rather delightful. And this is all on Zoom, mind you. So I'm sitting at a desk, again, like where I'm at right now at my apartment, and there's like flaming hot Cheetos to my right and like a lot of laundry that I have to do piled up on my bed to the other side of me. And I'm having a terrible day. So, and I guess long story short, it was awesome. It put me in a better mood, and it was interesting and interactive and generative. And this sort of strange blend of school and relationship, I guess. So I guess in my understanding of speech giving, this is sort of the post-anecdotal space where there's a transition from story to me pulling a singular point or something small from this tiny moment, and that something inevitably leads back to like BARD equals great. I don't think I'm going to do that because I know for a fact that many of my friends loathe Shakespeare and also classrooms, so sweeping anecdotes with anything to do with that probably wouldn't work very well. I think a better language for it would be that the story about Josh and Lindsay's demo lesson seems to reflect something, for me at least, about learning in relationship and a sort of flattening of the plane of interaction, sort of a flattening of the plane of who is receiving knowledge and who is giving it. And so very specifically, not always a classroom or a specific topic, but more sort of an atmosphere, something in the air, that for me goes all the way back to like my first residence hall meeting in Brown with my PCs, Mary Sol and Saul, who were asking us all about our favorite musicals and where we're from, and then them talking about how to successfully have a good time in L&T, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And I'm really grateful for that atmosphere. There's many kinds of learning in many kinds of spaces in many kinds of ways. And also that especially the Cheetos and having a good time are usually involved. And also the people, cheesy. Yeah. So thanks you all for that and a lot more. Congrats to all the award winners, and I hope everybody stays healthy and well.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Lastly, I'd like to introduce the people who will be giving the awards today. Jane Bryan, the class of '89, who's now the Director of Alumni Affairs. Leon Botstein, our president, and Deirdre D'Albert to begin the presentation of the senior awards. Thank you.
Do you have your list? The highlight of this ceremony, and I want to again thank Sam remotely and Cami for speaking, and of course Tessa. As Tessa pointed out, Jane Brian is the Director of Alumni Affairs and graduate of the class of '89 and represents the Alumni Association. And Deirdre Dalbert, for those of you who don't know her, is the Dean of the College and is also a professor of English and a specialist in Victorian studies. And we will shift then I will introduce the other presenters as they come. Normally what happens, we call a name and the student comes from wherever they sit and comes up and we hand them the award. I imagine this will go over the mails and they'll get the award in good time. And this is unusual because the one advantage is that families can watch these awards being given. And the only thing that I regret is that with masks you don't see a smile. The one human aspect. That's why I think robbers wear masks, and the Lone Ranger had an eye mask, but didn't Zorro have this kind of mask? It was black, yes. And in the old westerns from Hollywood, people had the masks, and there's a reason, because you can't actually recognize the face. But I want everybody who's watching to know that we're smiling. And we're thrilled and deeply proud of the students who are graduating this class and receiving awards. So I think the award will be announced. I'll say a few words about the award, and then one of my colleagues will announce the winner.
Thank you very much, Leon, and thank you everybody watching here today. And I'm reading the awards that have been funded by alumni, and there's always opportunities to do that. So the first award is the Class of 1969 Award, established by the Class of 1969 on the occasion of their 35th reunion. An annual award given to a junior or senior who, in the judgment of the faculty and the dean of the college, has demonstrated a commitment to justice, peace, social equity through scholarly pursuits, community involvement, and personal example.
So the class of '69, as many of you may realize, what came to Bard and graduated during a period of enormous political and social unrest, and their commitments have remained intact to those ideals, and they put together a fund to recognize a current graduate who, in their eyes, mirrors what they stood for when they were undergraduates.
The Class of 1969 award winner is Rachel Flynn.
The next award is the Jacob Druckman Memorial Prize, a prize established by a very loyal alumna, Ingrid Spat, from the class of 1969, to honor the memory of Jacob Druckman, a beloved teacher, friend, and associate professor of music from 1961 to 1967, awarded to a senior in the music program who demonstrates excellence and innovation in music composition.
Jacob Druckman was arguably one of the finest composers of the American 20th century. He was celebrated throughout the world, a fantastic imagination. We've done some of his music here. His son is a very distinguished percussionist, and he had a particular ear for sonority and sound. He was a devoted teacher who went on to also run the contemporary music arm of the New York Philharmonic, and then taught at Juilliard, but left a lasting impression here as a member of the music faculty in the 1960s.
This year we have 2 award winners for the Jacob Druckman Memorial Prize, Nicholas Foppiano and Megan Mercier.
The next award is the William Frauenfelder Translation Prize, a prize established in honor of William Frauenfelder, professor of modern languages and literature from 1934 to 1957, and also 1969 to 1977, and is awarded to a senior whose project includes a substantial literary translation of particularly high quality and attention to scholarship.
Willy Frauenfelder, as he was affectionately known, was one of the most long-serving members of this faculty and actually is buried here at the Bard Cemetery. He was remarkable for the number of languages that he taught, and he was the person most responsible for bringing the Hungarian refugees in 1956 to Bard in order to learn English when they fled Hungary before settling in the United States, and over 100 of them were here on campus, and many of them ended up becoming undergraduates here and graduating. Willy Frauenfelder was a Swiss and deeply religious man, and a man who belonged to a very unusual Protestant sect in Switzerland. But among his most remarkable parts of his career is that he came to America from Switzerland to go to college, to have a liberal arts experience at Pomona. But the reason he came here was that his family were members of the Frauenfelder yodeling troupe. And he was the youngest and destined to join this yodeling operation, which was non-trivial because it traveled all over the United States as the fabulous Frauenfelders. And for those of you who don't believe it, if you look at the Disney film, I think it's Snow White, they are the yodelers in Snow White. So Willy took one look at the yodeling of his family enterprise and decided he had better things in mind and instead went to college. So he always retained an enormous affection for students, and in the blistering novel The Groves of Academe that Mary McCarthy, our former colleague, wrote about American academic life, a thinly veiled picture of Willy Frauenfelder can be found, which is unusual for that book because it's completely complimentary.
So the fabulous Frauenfelder Translation Prize goes to Megan Halm.
The next award is the Alexander Hirshhorn Klebanoff from the class of '05 Award for Outstanding Achievement in Art History, awarded to a student whose senior project demonstrates extensive scholarship and daring originality. The student should also demonstrate commitment to art and artists in and around Bard College and show both a deep appreciation and diversified understanding of art history.
So Alexander Klebanoff and his family are very active in the support of the arts in their communities, and when he graduated, the family decided to honor a senior who would be graduating in the arts.
The Alexander Klebanoff Award for Outstanding Achievement in Art History goes to two students this year, Gabriella Goldberg and Shay Kotari.
The next award is the Robert Koblitz Human Rights Award, an award established in 1987 by Bard alumni who were former students of Robert Koblitz, late Professor Emeritus of Political Studies, in his name and honor, and awarded annually to a member of the Bard community, student, faculty, administration, or staff whose work demonstrates an understanding of and commitment to democracy.
Robert Koblitz, or Bob Koblitz as he was known, was a dynamic teacher, very committed to the questions of social justice and equity and democracy. He taught here for most of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. He also had a real interest in Japan, and he was known among his colleagues and all students for being a true activist and tireless organizer of political and social action.
The Koblitz Human Rights Award goes to Ava Maisie.
The last award I will be reading tonight is the Dr. Richard M. Siegel from the class of 1943 Memorial Prize in Science, given in the memory of Dr. Richard Siegel to a student majoring in science who, in the judgment of faculty demonstrates academic excellence.
So Richard Siegel was a part of a whole generation of students in the 1940s and 50s that came to Bard with a primary interest in science and medicine. This was an outgrowth of an immigrant population in New York City and in the general metropolitan area that saw Bard as a terrific place in which to study science. And it's in those years that our current high quality of science undergraduate teaching was developed. And many of the alumni from that generation have been very grateful and loyal to the college for the start it gave them.
The Siegel Memorial Prize in Science goes to Alexander Fedchin.
I now would like to introduce Bethany Nolgren, our Dean of Students, among the most popular members of our staff with the student body, who will continue to read the awards that are about college life. Some of them are funded by alumni, some are funded by staff, some are very old in the history of the college, and some have been developed by members of the faculty.
Thank you, President. I'm honored to announce the Bard Equity and Inclusion Achievement Prize, which is awarded to a graduating equity and inclusion senior who exemplifies the spirit of the program through academic achievement and personal growth.
The winner of the Equity and Inclusion Achievement Prize is Anthony Henry.
The Reamer Klein Award is given to students who perpetuate the high ideals, devotion, and energetic involvement in the life and work of the college, exemplified by Dr. Klein during his 14 years as president of Bard College.
Reamer Klein was my predecessor and a remarkable and generous man. He was a priest in the Episcopal Church and came to Bard at a very dire moment in its history in 1960 and led the college for 14 years until he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He went on to teach here, taught Hebrew, and was a remarkable, calming, and a wise force, and one of our most active links to the Episcopal Church. This award is given, as many of these awards, by a team of faculty and administrators, and this one particularly means a lot because it represents someone who devoted the greater part of his professional life to the well-being of this college.
The Reamer Klein Award goes to Aelid Strauss.
The William J. Lockwood Prize is awarded to the senior who has contributed most to the general welfare of the college.
The Lockwood Prize is probably the oldest prize in the college's history. There's maybe one other. There are two. One is for intellectual life, and one is for the general welfare. Traditionally, it was given by the president. I now have shared this with my colleagues, and so it's given by primarily by the Dean of Students' Office professionals, and it is really one of the continuous links over the now 170 years of the college, almost 170 years of the college's history.
The William J. Lockwood Prize goes to Justin Diaz.
The Adalia Gonzalez Stokas Memorial Prize is awarded to a senior who exemplifies the spirit of Bard and who, having overcome personal challenges during his or her studies, has demonstrated academic excellence.
The Idalia Gonzalez Stokes Prize honors a longtime colleague of ours who worked here at the college in the Dean of Students operation and was one of the first to pioneer the issue of inclusive excellence and diversity at the college. Her daughter, Ariana Stokes, is an alumna and was here the Chief Inclusive Excellence and Diversity Officer, and now the Vice President of the same function at Barnard College. Idalia is also buried in the Bard Cemetery and was a devoted member of this college's community.
The Idalia Gonzalez Stokes Memorial Prize this year is awarded to Jaden Gray Huff.
The Christina R. Tarcell Service Award is given to a moderated student who enriches the community through humanitarian service and bridge building.
This award, like many others you'll see, is given in honor and sometimes in memory of students who have been here at the college in years past. Tragically, in every generation there are undergraduates who, whose life is cut short, either shortly after graduating or sometimes while they're undergraduates. And their families remember them, just as you will see awards for the rest of the ceremony that honor faculty members like Frauenfelder, whose death inspired their family, their friends, and their students to keep their memory alive through rewarding a current graduating senior for their work.
The Christina R. Tarcell Service Award goes to Ryan Jones.
I now introduce our Dean of Studies, David Shine, known to many of you as probably the college's most successful superadvisor of undergraduates and who spends most of his time helping individual students negotiate the academic program of the college.
Thank you, Leon. Hey, y'all. We're going to start with the Bard Conservatory Prize, which is presented to the graduating conservatory student who best embodies the values of the conservatory.
So the conservatory is a relatively new part of the college, and the faculty and staff decided that we ought to have a prize that recognizes one of the graduating seniors. The conservatory students do a double degree, and they spend 5 years here.
The Bard College Conservatory of Music Prize goes to Gita Marco.
Now we have the John Bard Scholar Awards. Some of these were given to undergraduates when we did the undergraduate award ceremony earlier in the spring. Here we have the Bard Scholar Awards for seniors. These are awarded across the divisions for outstanding academic achievement.
So John Bard was the founder of Bard. You would be probably not surprised that every single year there are people who believe that we were named after Shakespeare. So as the Bard, that's the only connection they have with the name. The Bard family lived in the Hudson Valley. The grandparents of John Bard, who founded the college, were physicians in the 18th century, and they founded in a way, the College of Physicians and Surgeons and also New York Hospital. There is a continuing now controversy as a result of Black Lives Matter because the Bards in the 18th century apparently were slaveholders. John Bard, who founded us, was not, and he was a devout Episcopalian, and he lived here, bought this property, lived in a building which is not the current building at Blythewood. He had a son, Willie Bard, who died, and death in childhood in the 19th century was not that uncommon. But as a devout and believing Christian, he decided to memorialize his son in a 3-part philanthropy, which is around the Christmas season. So he built the Chapel of Holy Innocents, which commemorates the slaughter of children in an effort to prevent the prophecy of the coming of Christ. He then built St. John the Evangelist, which is the church down the road that many of you know, where we supply the rector. So Mary Grace is our chaplain, is the rector there. And finally, St. Stephen's College, the first martyr after the birth of Christ in the Christian calendar. So these 3 philanthropies, and the St. Stephen's College absorbed in a way both the Chapel of Holy Innocents and St. John the Evangelist. And in the 1930s, the name of the college was changed back to honor its founder, John Bard.
Today we honor John Bard Scholar Prizes in 3 of the 4 divisions. The John Bard Scholar Prizes in the arts go to 2 students, Olivia Berkey and Macy Downs. The John Bard Scholar Prizes in languages and literature go to Arten Ak and to Amber Junker. The John Bard Scholars Prizes in social studies goes to a single student, Aliyah Beham.
The Andrew J. Bernstein Prize is given in recognition of the originality and quality of the senior project in psychology.
So Andrew J. Bernstein, as you can probably see from the screen in a moment, was an undergraduate from the class of 1968. His family, he died, and his family has been very loyal to the college, and his major was psychology. And they have funded a variety of things here at the college that focus on psychology, guest lectures, and among them is this prize for a graduating senior in psychology.
The Andrew J. Bernstein Prize goes to Yifan Gu.
The Bard Biology Prize is given to a senior in biology who has demonstrated curiosity, perseverance, resilience, and achievement through engagement with the discipline and with the world.
This is the beginning of a series of faculty prizes given by the divisions and by members of the faculty in different programs and over the range of disciplines of the college.
This year, the Bard Biology Prize goes to Adele Finch.
And the Mark Bloch Prize, which is given to the student completing the best senior project in history.
This always gets a laugh because the way the citation is written by the donors, it looks like it's the best senior project in history. That say ever written or ever done. It actually means the best senior project in history, in the field of history, and the name of the prize for most people in the academic world would be obvious. So Mark Bloch was one of the greatest historians of modern times. He was his accomplishment was a classic work on the nature of feudal society. He was a Frenchman and a Jew, and he was killed during the Second World War and was a member of the resistance. And deeply admirable and deeply influential intellectual figure.
The Mark Bloch Prize for this outstanding history student goes to Mitchell Levinson.
The Heinrich Blücher Prize is given to students who best exemplify the ideals of scholarship as those espoused by Dr. Blücher.
Heinrich Blücher taught philosophy here from 1951-52 till the mid-late 60s. He was self-educated. He never went to university or college, that anybody can figure out. And he was a person of many different careers. He wrote lyrics for musical theater. He was a member of the Communist Party in Berlin after the First World War. He was an avid philosopher, and his primary interest in philosophy happened to deal with the nature of art and aesthetics, and the relation of aesthetics and ethics, and aesthetics and epistemology. His other claim to fame is that he was the husband, the second husband of Hannah Arendt, the philosopher, who, with Heinrich Blücher, is buried in the Bard Cemetery. Hannah Arendt was deeply committed to Bard. They had a place across the river in Palinville. And Heinrich Blücher also founded the Common Course, which is the predecessor of the first-year seminar, which defines our first-year curriculum. Heinrich Blücher was a man of big ideas, and his Common Course, that many alumni remember, was built around the great intellectual figures of history from all cultures all over the world. And his students here, who are alumni, have honored his memory by maintaining an archive here and by being very energetic in getting his own work published and in supporting this prize.
There are two winners this year of the Heinrich Blücher Prize, Kate Gonzalez and Ariadne Sinis Burozikus.
The Franz Boas and Ruth Benedict Prize is given in recognition of the achievement demonstrated by the senior project in anthropology.
So again, this is named for two very famous intellectual figures, Franz Boas and Ruth Benedict, among the founding lights of modern anthropology. This is part of the initiative of emeritus faculty members here, Madonna Brown and Mario Bick, who were pioneers in the study of anthropology here and have decided to be philanthropic in helping maintain that tradition of study by giving this award to a graduating senior.
The Franz Boas Ruth Benedict Prize goes to Emily Jan Giulio.
At the undergraduate award ceremony in May, we awarded book awards for excellence in language learning to all of the languages taught in the college except one. That will be awarded today. It is awarded for effective language learning, growth, enthusiasm, commitment, and leadership in the classroom, and today's is awarded for Arabic.
The Book Award for Excellence in Language Learning in Arabic is awarded to Marlena Yost.
The President's Prize is given to a graduating senior with a strong academic record across the disciplines who demonstrates intellectual ambition, creativity, and integrity.
Although this is called the President's Prize, it is actually given by the faculty, and so they take responsibility for it.
And the President's Prize goes to the incomparable Eric Doherty.
The Rachel Carson Prize honors an outstanding senior project in environmental and urban studies, one that reflects Carson's determination to promote biocentric sensibility.
So as many of you will recognize, Rachel Carson is one of the pioneers in what we now see as the movement for environmental conservation and for preserving the environment, which is a major focus of the curriculum here, both in the sciences and in the social studies division.
The Rachel Carson Prize goes to Glenis Eileen Romero Medina.
The Maya Deren Prize is awarded to a film major for excellence in and commitment to cinema.
So one of the distinguishing features of the college's curriculum in the arts, the integration of the arts, but also the long presence of film. The film program was first instituted together with Adolphus Mikus and Pierre Sidney under Remer Klein, and has been one of the most productive and desired areas of concentration among undergraduates.
The Maya Deren Prize goes to Theodore Webb.
The Alice P. Doyle Prize in Environmental Studies is given to a student whose senior project illuminates the social dimensions of environmental issues.
This prize is given in memory of the parent of one of our former colleagues who worked actually in the Development and Public Affairs division of the college.
The Alice P. Doyle Prize in Environmental Studies goes to Eleanor Stapleton.
The Lyford P. Edwards Memorial Prize is awarded to students who demonstrate excellence in the social sciences.
So Lyford P. Edwards was a member of this faculty in the early 20th century after the First World War. He was probably, together with Albert J. Nock, a very distinguished American conservative thinker, the most famous member of the faculty in the 1920s. He was trained at the University of Chicago in the first generation of sociologists, and some of his writings have remained in print and part of the curriculum of the history of sociology throughout the country. He was a priest as well, and he was notable for his eloquent and absolutely consistent hostility to the then president of the college, Bernard Igensbell, also a priest of some intellectual prominence.
The Lyford P. Edwards Memorial Prize is awarded this year to two students, Bernadette Benjamin and Macy Downs.
The Antonio Gramsci Prize is awarded for excellence in political studies, political economy, and the policy implications of academic analysis.
This is another faculty prize. It's named for a famous intellectual figure, the political theorist Antonio Gramsci, and is given by the faculty.
The Gramsci Prize this year goes to Augusta Spiro Jaeger.
The Jerome Hill Prize is given to a senior with an excellent senior project and for exceptional service to the program in film and electronic arts.
Another prize in film in memory of a member of the film community here at Bard.
The Jerome Hill Prize goes to Gus Aronson.
The Peter Hutton Award. It's given in honor of Peter Hutton, renowned filmmaker, professor, beloved colleague, in recognition of exceptional skill, artistry, and commitment to the art of filmmaking.
Peter Hutton, who died just several years ago, was a fantastic colleague and neighbor. He gets the credit for building the film program here at the college. A warmer, more helpful, and more caring colleague is hard to imagine. He was also a great filmmaker who specialized in a way in the abstract aesthetic quality of film, not its narrative quality. He always stood in an ironic relationship to the Hollywood industry. And among his students, actually, is Ken Burns, the filmmaker. He taught at beginning of his career at Hampshire, and a terrific man whose loss was felt deeply by all of us.
In memory of Peter Hutton, today we recognize with this film award Annika Wetsch.
The Anna Eidelman Prize for Performance is awarded to a dance student who has shown on stage the expressiveness that Anna Eidelman worked to develop.
Anna Eidelman was from South America, and she was a stalwart of the dance program here in the 60s and 70s, early 70s, but primarily in the 60s, and she died early, and there are two prizes in her name honoring her work as a choreographer and dancer.
The Anna Eidelman Prize is for performance and choreography. The prize for performance goes to Olivia Berkey, and the prize for choreography is awarded to Kate Williams.
The William E. Lensing Prize in Philosophy is awarded for excellence in the field.
Bill Lensing, who lived on campus, was a mainstay of the philosophy program here for most of the post-World War II period. He was one of the last faculty members who was also, of his generation, interested in the outdoors, a sportsman and a supporter of the sports program. He was a generalist and a beloved teacher, and this is given in his memory.
The William E. Lensing Prize in Philosophy is awarded to Luke Jennings.
And the Levy Economics Institute Prize, which is awarded to a senior with an outstanding academic record, whose senior project represents originality of thought in economics and public policy.
Are we good?
I'll do that again.
Why don't you do that again? Yeah.
I'll do that again. The Levy Economics Institute Prize is awarded to a senior with an outstanding academic record, whose senior project represents originality of thought in economics and public policy.
So the Levy Economics Prize reflects the presence of the Levy Economics Institute, which was named by former trustee, the late Leon Levy, who was exceptionally generous to the college. We were his major philanthropy, and without him, most of the 80s would have been unthinkable. And among other things, he created this research institution, which is now at Blythewood, which has among its priorities the study of wealth inequality and non-traditional ways in the economics profession of understanding the economic system.
The Levy Economics Institute Prize goes to Tinatin Bejanije.
Earlier, we had the William J. Lockwood Prize for contribution to the general welfare of the college. Here we have the Lockwood Prize awarded to the senior who has contributed most to the intellectual life of the college.
This is one of the two oldest prizes, this one for the intellectual life.
The William J. Lockwood Prize goes to Nadia Russell.
The Wilton Moore Lockwood Prize in Critical Writing is awarded to a student who has submitted particularly distinguished critical writing in coursework.
So these are the same Lockwood family, but a different branch, also connected to Bard, and in a slightly different direction, both for critical and creative writing. The use of language has been a hallmark of our curriculum, and that started a long time ago, well before the 20th century.
So, first, the Wilton Moore Lockwood Prize for Critical Writing goes to Andreas Meraz. And the Wilton Moore Lockwood Prize for Creative Writing is awarded to Jamie Gray Gillette.
The Larry McLeod Award in Jazz is awarded to a student who has done much to keep the sound of jazz going at Bard.
This is a prize, again, in memory of a student here in the 70s.
The McLeod Award in Jazz goes to Anthony Henry.
The Adolphus Mikas Prize is given for exceptional script writing.
Adolphus Mikas founded the film program at Bard in the 70s. He was the brother of Jonas Mikas, who recently died. They were both pioneering filmmakers and film historians.
The Mikas Prize goes to Dahlia Glatzman.
The Edmund S. Morgan Prize is awarded to the student who has written the best senior project in American Studies.
Like the Bloch Prize, this is named for a distinguished American historian, Edmund Morgan, and again given by the faculty in the field of history.
The Morgan Prize in American Studies is awarded to Alexis Maresca.
The Elizabeth Murray and Saul Lewitz Studio Arts Award is given each year to two seniors whose work exemplifies dedication, commitment, and integrity.
So Elizabeth Murray was one of the great painters of her generation, and she taught at Bard and had a long and affectionate connection to the college. Sol LeWitt, again, one of the great artists of the 20th century, one of whose children went to Bard, and we have a permanent Sol LeWitt in the Hessel Museum and the Center for Curatorial Studies, and there are many LeWitts in that collection. So this award in the visual arts is in memory of these two very distinguished American artists.
This year we have 2 awardees for the Elizabeth Murray and Sol LeWitt Studio Arts Award. First, Julia Kuntz and Hugh Lee.
The Don Parker Prizes. We have a Don Parker Prize for dance and one for theater and performance, and they are awarded to seniors in their respective programs who have shown the most development and progress as performers at Bard.
So these Parker Prizes reflect the significance of theater, which was once called drama dance here in the curriculum. The theatrical arts were the first arts brought into the Bard curriculum when Bard was an all-men's college in the 1920s and 30s. Being theatrical was apparently thought helpful to the job of being a priest and pastor, where most of the undergraduates were here in order to prepare themselves for seminary. But this comes from the post-ecclesiastical history of the college.
So first, the Don Parker Prize for Dance goes to Molly Rockwood. And we have 2 students honored with the Don Parker Prize for Theater and Performance, Cheyenne Conti and Violet Savage.
The Sidney Peterson Prize is given for excellence in filmmaking.
So the film program, as I mentioned, under Peter Hutton, developed a continuing commitment to film as a non-commercial aesthetic medium.
The Sidney Peterson Prize goes to Alexandra Diaz Albertini.
Stepping away from film, we have the M. Susan Richmond Prize, which is given to the senior who exhibits the most mathematical creativity.
So the Richmond family, parents of graduates from Bard, have been very supportive of the college, and one of their areas of support has been the undergraduate study of mathematics.
The M. Susan Richmond Senior Project Award in Mathematics is given to Emma Bernstein.
The Seymour Richmond Music Prize for Excellence in Brass is given to an outstanding Bard College Conservatory brass instrument player whose performances have embodied creativity, originality, and dedication.
So the Richmond family as well have been supporters of the Bard Music Festival and of music at Bard. And for those of you who may not know, if you are a student in the conservatory and you do the 5 years, you get 2 degrees, but you cannot get a music degree just alone. You can't get a conservatory degree, a Bachelor of Music. So all these students who graduate with a double degree have in one field, and we've seen a couple of winners in this group who have won for fields other than music, who are students at the conservatory.
The Seymour Richmond Music Prize for Excellence in Brass is awarded to James Yutien Cho.
Now the Robert Rockman Prize, which recognizes excellence in literature and theater.
So at Bard, there are 4 divisions, as all the students know. There's a languages and literature division, and then there's an arts division. We do not have a humanities division. What normally belong in the humanities in most colleges and universities are split up. One of the areas of linkage that have always interested the faculty is between theater and literature. And the occupant of the position that linked theater and literature was Robert Rockman. Robert Rockman's field of expertise was George Bernard Shaw. He was also a terrific actor and acted in many productions that involved students. He was also a man of very wry humor. A fellow graduate student always told the story about Bob Brockman that in sitting on the banks of the Charles River and looking at a beautiful sunset, when asked, "Isn't this sunset beautiful?" Bob Brockman was legendarily said to reply, "But the sun is going down."
The Robert Rockman Prize goes to Jane Colon Bonnet.
The Ottawa Sala Middle Eastern Studies Prize recognizes an upper college Middle Eastern Studies student for excellence in the field.
For alumni may be watching this, the dramatic change of interests by undergraduates over the years involves both the languages, as you just heard. There was a prize in Arabic, and also the area of study, both in terms of the study of society and history, and the shift of interest from primarily North America and Europe to Asia, to the Middle East, and to Africa and Latin America is palpable.
The Ottawa Sali Middle Eastern Studies Prize goes to Marlena Yost.
The Bill Sanders Memorial Prize is given in memory of Bill Sanders, class of 1990, to a student for appreciative, elegant, and insightful critical writing in English literature.
This is an example of a family wishing to remember their child and their relative through honoring someone who reminded them of him. And in this case, someone with an engagement in literature and writing.
The Bill Sanders Memorial Prize is awarded to Charlotte Foreman.
We have two Margaret Creel Schaefer prizes, one for composition and one for performance. They are awarded by the Hudson Valley Chamber Circle to students who demonstrate active participation and excellence in the music program.
The Hudson Valley Chamber Music Circle sponsors concerts here in June and is the oldest of our concert series. It was endowed by Helen Hull, the first wife of Vincent Astor, a member of the Hudson Valley community, who was one of the great music patrons of the 20th century. It's named for her good friend, Margaret Creel Schaefer. Margaret Creel Schaefer was a writer, Canadian, who was married to the longtime chaplain of the college, Fritz Schaefer, and they lived, for those of you who know the campus, on the house that now houses the writing faculty, the creative, the written arts faculty. It's a modernist building right on the Sawkill. And they were, Margaret was an avid musician and writer, and she was also, with Fritz, they took on the responsibility of building the community by opening their home to dinners and to faculty and to students, and she was a legendary figure not only in the college community but in the entire Hudson Valley.
The Margaret Creel Schaefer Prize in Composition is awarded to two students this year, Tristan Geary and Guang Jason Yang. The Margaret Creel Schaefer Prize in Performance is also given this year to two students, Yidiao Ho and Lindsay Williams.
The Studio Arts Award recognizes seniors whose work exemplifies dedication, commitment, and integrity.
The studio arts are a major part of our culture here at the college, as all the students know. And for those who are interested, we publish a book of the work of the class of 2020 in the studio arts, which if you write us, I'm sure we can either provide you a link or the actual book itself.
We have two students honored with the Studio Arts Award this year, Alex Prestrud and Victoria Wayland.
The Adolf Sturmthal Memorial Prize recognizes outstanding work in the field of economics.
Adolf Sturmthal was one of the many refugees that came to teach at Bard in the 1940s and the late 1930s. Bard at that time was part of Columbia University, and we gave Columbia degrees as well as Bard degrees. And when the intellectual migration came as individuals fled both Nazi Germany and Mussolini's Italy, Bard was the beneficiary. They went to Columbia. Columbia sent them, so to speak, up the river. We had everybody, including Franco Modigliani, who won the Nobel Prize in economics. Adolf Sturmthal was a very distinguished Austrian economist with a very eminent career in both scholarship and public service, and became a fantastic and avuncularly supportive teacher here at the college.
This year we award the Adolf Sturmthal Memorial Prize to Peyton Nash.
The Christina R. Tarsell Studio Arts Award recognizes students of integrity whose work exemplifies intellectual openness, humanism, and a passion for light and color.
We met Christina Tarsell earlier in an earlier prize given by the family.
The Christina Tarsell Studio Arts Award is granted this year to two students, Coco Ma and Livia Spomberg-Paraday.
The Carter Tobin Prize in Theater and Performance recognizes exceptional contributions to the technical work of the theater program.
Carter Tobin was an undergraduate here, and his family, in his memory, endowed these awards in theater and performance, which was his love.
This year we have two awardees for the Carter Tobin Prize for Theater and Performance, Philip Carroll and Ty Singer.
The Lindsay Watton III Memorial Research Prize in Russian and Eurasian Studies is awarded to students whose senior projects demonstrate excellence in the field of Russian and Eurasian Studies.
Lindsay Watton was a member of the faculty here in the Russian languages and literature field, and he died very early and still as a young faculty member. And this prize was put together by his family to remember his presence here and his achievements as a teacher and scholar.
We honor the memory of Lindsay F. Watton III with two students who are receiving the Memorial Prize in Russian and Eurasian Studies today. Jasper Francis and Andreas Meraz.
And our final award of the program is the Written Arts Prize, which recognizes an outstanding creative senior project.
So it's appropriate that the last award of this ceremony is in the written arts. If there's one binding aspect of being a Bard undergraduate and having a Bard degree, is a presumption that starting from language and thinking all the way through the first year seminar, through moderation, and through the senior project, that everyone gets a handle on the use of language and is able to use language to express and discover what and why they think, and to do so in a way that's distinctive to their own ambitions, personality, and interests. So it's appropriate that our last prize honors achievement in the area of the written arts.
We recognize with the Written Arts Prize the achievement of Charlotte Foreman.
So I think that that does the formal awards part of this, and it's now my honor and duty to close, and simply to once again thank all the staff of the college that went to extraordinary lengths to make this possible. It looks very dignified and staid, but it was chaotic to get here, and that's the way we do things, sort of in the 11th hour, the way architects roll their competition designs at the end of a long, sleepless night. But this has been a real achievement of the entire staff. And for those of you listening and those of you who've gotten prizes and their families, it has taken a lot and will take a lot to keep this, if you will, going through the pandemic and after. This has going to be one of the most challenging years in the college's long history. We're blessed by a very generous board and by a generous chair of that board and very generous alumni whose support of the college can be actually seen in this award ceremony. And all of the class of 2020 will become alumni, and it is on their loyalty and their commitment to the college that we and future generations will rely. It is the custom at this ceremony to invite everybody to make sure that their families and friends come to commencement and enjoy themselves. And I would repeat that this afternoon. There's the baccalaureate service, which has student performances in it and a faculty speaker and a student speaker, and is in a way a linkage to the history of the college from its very founding. And then, of course, we have commencement tomorrow, where we will have our honorary degree and our David Byrne, our commencement speaker, and the awarding of degrees, which will be sort of similar to what you've seen here, that every student will get a slide, and every student's name will be called. And it'll be a joyous celebration. It has no replacement whatsoever for the live event. But I repeat again that every member of the class of 2020 and their families will be welcome at a future commencement, the first, I hope, being in 2021 and also 2022, and if you really plan ahead, 2023. So I want to congratulate every senior and every award winner, and I want to thank the faculty and the staff for making this possible. And for those of you who don't return online, have a very nice day, and let's hope we see each other again tomorrow. Thank you all very much.